A shrimp's heart is in its head. A fish can drown. Astronauts left love notes on the moon. And that's just the start, so sit back, relax, and hear the facts you'll wish you knew earlier. Here's the first one.
So many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
Did you know sea cucumbers fight with their guts? They literally eject their intestines to scare off predators. Disgusting and effective. When people say room temperature, they're actually talking about a magical range where things feel just right. Not too hot, not too cold. It's like the comfy hoodie of the temperature world. Scientists even agree it's somewhere between warm sunshine and a nice evening breeze. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. An octopus doesn't just look like a sea alien, its eyes prove it. Instead of round pupils like ours, it has rectangle-shaped ones. That means it sees the world like a crazy widescreen movie. If humans had those, we'd look like living cartoons all day long. There's one weird bone in your throat called the hyoid. It's the only bone in your whole body that doesn't touch any other bone. It's just floating there like it's got VIP status. And guess what? It helps you talk. Yep, even your bones want you to speak up. An ant could skydive off a mountain and just walk it off like a superhero. They're so tiny and light, gravity can't slam them into the ground like us. While we'd go splat, ants just float down like they've got built-in parachutes made of nothing. When the movie Pulp Fiction was made, it cost a truckload of money. But most of that cash, like over half, went straight into the pockets of the actors. Imagine paying millions just to get cool people to say cool things. That's Hollywood. Money talks and actors talk cooler. Only a few words in English end with the letters douse, and they sound like spells. Stupendous, tremendous, hazardous, horrendous. It's like a secret club of dramatic words that shout their way into your brain. Next time you use one, feel like a wizard throwing verbal fireballs. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The oldest word in English isn't something fancy, it's town. That simple word has survived wars, kings, empires, and TikTok. People have been using it forever to talk about where they live. Every time you say downtown, like you're basically speaking ancient magic from your English ancestors. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Ever watched a cat eat? Their jaws only move up and down, never side to side. That's why they look like little royal robots while munching. If they had chewing gum, they'd be terrible at it. No sideways chompers for them, just classy up and down crunching. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Microwave a grape and watch chaos happen. That little fruit turns into a mini fireball and explodes. It's like science class gone wild. It's so powerful, even scientists studied it. So yeah, grapes in microwaves are not snacks. They're undercover demolition experts. It's proof that reality can be stranger than fiction when you dig into the details. Pigs can't look up at the stars. Their necks just don't work like that. So, while we wish on shooting stars, pigs are stuck staring at dirt. That's kind of sad, but also kind of cute. Their sky's made of mud and truffle dreams. Broccoli is like a bouquet you can eat. It's a flower in disguise. Green, crunchy, and hiding its beauty behind taste. So the next time you avoid your veggies, remember, you're basically rejecting nature's edible garden. That's not just food, that's floral power on your plate. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Peaches and almonds are cousins. Yep, that soft, juicy fruit and the crunchy nut belong to the same family tree. It's like a sweet team-up where dessert meets snack. If peaches had a family reunion, almonds would totally show up in their crisp little tuxedos. In Alaska, lots of people don't drive to work. They walk. Through snow, through cold, through everything. While we complain about bus delays, Alaskans just keep walking like icy warriors. Maybe their shoes are powered by penguins or something. Either way, it's kind of epic. The cable cars in San Francisco aren't just transportation, they're a moving monument. Imagine hopping onto a piece of history that still rings a bell and climbs steep hills. It's like riding a museum that doesn't stand still. Where else can you time travel and commute at once? Hawaiian words are super chill because the alphabet has only 12 letters. That's it, just a dozen. No complicated stuff. That's why Hawaiian sounds like music. The language flows like waves and smells like pineapple air. Fewer letters, more aloha. Words carry layers of meaning and origin, twisting through centuries of culture and change. Take a rubber ball and bounce it. Cool. Now grab a glass ball and boom, it bounces even higher. Sounds backward, right? But glass is secretly springy when shaped into a ball. So next time you break a vase, imagine it as a super ball in disguise. A human spends about 2 whole weeks of their life just kissing. That's hundreds of hours of lips touching lips. Sweet, weird, sticky, magical. It's the universal smooch counter. 2 weeks of moi. Now, that's what I call a love investment. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Fish have eyelids. You didn't expect that, did you? They don't blink like us, but those lids are there protecting their watery little eyeballs. So while they swim in circles looking like bubble-faced statues, their eyes are secretly guarded like treasure. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Some words in English are long, rare, and never repeat a single letter. Uncopyrightable and dermatoglyphics are two of them. They sound like a wizard made them up on a dare. Spelling bees fear them. Dictionaries respect them. And your brain? It just stares in shock. There's a word so complicated that every letter in it shows up more than once. Unprosperousness. It's like the echo chamber of words. No unique guess, just twins and triplets everywhere. It's the kind of word that feels like it's multiplying while you read it. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Ever type something only using one row of your keyboard? Try typewriter or perpetuity. They stick to the top row like loyal soldiers. It's like your fingers are dancing on a tightrope. Next time you want to type without moving much, give those words a try. There were Olympic Games hosted by countries that don't even exist anymore. Imagine winning a gold medal for a team that vanished from the map. Athletes trained, competed, and celebrated. Then history said, poof. It's like the Ghost League of world sports. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Golf once traveled beyond Earth. Yes, it was played on the moon. An astronaut swung a club and sent the ball flying in low gravity. That's the slowest, coolest golf swing ever. No grass, no wind, just space dust and swagger. That's one giant shot for mankind. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Checkmate sounds like a chess word, but it actually means the king is dead in Persian. Every time you end a game with it, you're shouting royal doom across centuries. It's not just a win, it's a poetic sword swipe to finish your mental battle. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Your brain is a total weirdo. It's the boss of your whole body, yet it feels nothing. You could poke it, please don't, and it wouldn't even flinch. That's because it has no pain sensors. It runs the pain game, but never plays. Mars isn't just a dusty planet, it's hiding a beast. There's a volcano so massive, it's as big as the entire state of Arizona. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain that looks like it could eat Everest for breakfast. Mars doesn't do small, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The blue whale isn't just big, it's loud. Its voice could shake the sea like thunder. If it screams underwater, creatures hundreds of kilometers away might flinch. That's like you shouting in India and someone in Pakistan saying, "Did you hear that?" It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Dogs are the secret spies of the sound world. Their ears pick up things way before you even notice. While we hear meow, they hear the whole cat conversation. It's like living life on high volume while everyone else's headphones are off. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Houseflies are annoying, but did you know they hum in the key of F? Yep, every time they buzz past your ear, they're basically singing a very tiny opera. So next time one flies near you, don't swat. Applaud the musical genius. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. On Venus, the sun pulls a prank. It rises in the west and sets in the east. Total reverse. If Earth did that, mornings would feel like magic and evenings like time travel. Venus is basically the moonwalking planet of the solar system. You know that twisty toy called a slinky? If you pulled one flat, it would stretch out longer than a bus. That little coil hides a giant secret inside its spirals. It's like a metal snake pretending to be short just to surprise you. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Octopuses are so smart that it's illegal in many countries to do surgery on them without knocking them out first. Their brains are big. Their arms think for themselves, and they can escape jars like squishy magicians. Respect the underwater genius. Earth has more trees than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Seriously, forests are winning the numbers game against the sky. So, yeah, the next time you walk through a bunch of trees, remember, you're strolling through nature's army. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Fire doesn't play fair, it moves faster when it's going uphill. Like it's racing to the top, you know? Downhill? Nah, lazy. But give it a slope to climb and it becomes a wild, hot sprinter. Nature knows how to light a fire under its feet. Michel Lotito wasn't your average guy. He ate bicycles, real ones. Then he ate a plane. That's not a joke. His stomach was like a steel blender. He munched metal like snacks. People watched him eat shopping carts like it was popcorn. Absolute legend or real-life cartoon. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Jupiter and Saturn have the most dramatic weather ever. It literally rains diamonds there. The skies are full of storms, and deep inside, the pressure turns gas into shiny gems. So somewhere out there, it's blinging harder than your favorite rapper's chain. Brand new babies can't cry tears. They cry? Yeah, but it's all sound and zero waterworks. The actual tears show up a few weeks or months later. It's like their tear ducts are late to the party. Until then, it's just dry drama. If you could drive your car straight up, no traffic, no tolls, you'd be in space in under an hour. One long vertical joyride and boom, stars. Just imagine stopping for gas near a satellite. Space highway sounds way cooler than a freeway. It's strange, but burping turns out to be a form of expression in both animals and space. The sun looks yellow because Earth's sky messes with it. In reality, it's plain white, like a glowing light bulb. But when sunlight squeezes through our air, it turns golden. So yeah, the sun's not sun-colored. It's more like a disguise in the atmosphere. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Earth spins super fast, even if it feels still. Right now, as you sit reading this, you're flying over 1,000 miles per hour without noticing. That's like riding a race car without ever hearing the engine. Gravity is just really good at hiding the chaos, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. A snake with its eyes shut can still see. Their eyelids are clear shields, not full blackout curtains. So when it seems like they're napping, they're actually spying. Creepy, right? Imagine closing your eyes and still seeing everything. Snakes are basically nature's built-in CCTV. There's a word that goes edulops, and it's wild because its letters show up in perfect alphabetical order. A, E, G, all lined up like soldiers. It's not just a word, it's a spelling trick, a word puzzle, and a flex all rolled into one. Gorillas don't giggle or clap when they're happy, they burp. A joyful gorilla lets out a big bubbly belch to show love or satisfaction. If humans did that, birthday parties would sound like soda explosions. Monkey manners are different, but somehow still adorable. Pennies cost more to make than they're actually worth. That's right, the metal in them is pricier than the coin itself. The government loses money every time one is made. It's like baking cookies and spending more on chocolate chips than the whole batch is worth. The phrase never odd or even is the same forward and backward. Read it again. See? It's a palindrome, a word mirror. It's like the language version of a magic trick. Say it at a spelling bee and drop the mic. In Alabama, don't put ice cream in your back pocket. It's actually illegal. Why? Because long ago, horse thieves used to lure horses away with pocket treats. Now it's a law. So yeah, dessert in pants equals criminal behavior in some places. Alaska is wild. It's the most northern, western, and even eastern state in America. How? Because of how the Earth curves, one of its islands stretches past the edge. It's like Alaska is everywhere at once. Cold, quiet, and owning the compass. In France, once you clock out from work, your boss can't email you. It's actually the law. Imagine homework ending the second the school bell rings, and your teacher's not allowed to bug you after. That's how adults in France get their peace. No buzzing inbox, just baguettes and bedtime. A bunch of raccoons isn't called a group, it's called a gaze. That sounds like they're up to something sneaky and mysterious, which makes sense because raccoons always look like they're plotting to steal your sandwich with a master plan and some teamwork goggles. There's a real fear called turnophobia, and it means being scared of getting tickled by feathers. Imagine someone waving a fluffy feather near you and your brain screams, "Run!" Not spiders, not snakes, just feathers. Fear can be funny and soft apparently, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Some people are scared of being happy. It's called agoraphobia. Sounds strange, but their brain thinks something bad will happen right after the good stuff. So they dodge fun like it's a trap. It's like saying no to cake because you fear the frosting has a secret plan. The tallest mountain and the deepest ocean trench are far apart, but the gap between the two is around 12 miles. That's like nature stretching from a mountaintop to a secret underwater cave. Earth's high fives and low whispers are farther apart than most of us ever travel. When crows hang out together, the group has the spookiest name ever, a murder. No one knows why, but it makes crows sound like villains in a bird movie. Just imagine a bunch of crows in tiny black hats planning bird-sized heists under moonlight. Dr. Seuss once made a bet that he could write a full book using only 50 different words. The result? Green eggs and ham. And he won. That's like building a whole castle using just 50 Lego pieces. He turned a challenge into a masterpiece. Most of the land in Nevada isn't owned by regular people. It's owned by the government. Like huge stretches of empty land belong to the country itself. So if you ever feel like playing hide and seek with satellites, that's your playground. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Every face you dream of, you've seen before, even the weird ones. Your brain doesn't invent new faces. It just pulls old ones from the storage room in your head. So that scary clown in your dream, you probably saw him at a grocery store once. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Aladdin, the magic lamp guy, wasn't originally from the desert kingdoms like the movies show. He was actually Chinese in the oldest versions of the story. That flying carpet? It flew from the east, not the Middle East. tails get twisted when they travel, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Back in the old days of baseball, umpires didn't stand. They sat in rocking chairs behind home plate. Imagine calling strikes while sipping lemonade and rocking back and forth like a grandpa. Baseball used to be slow and super chill. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. The shortest professional baseball player stood just a little taller than your kitchen counter, but he still played big league games. That proves you don't need height to swing a bat. You just need guts and a good grip on your dreams. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Believe it or not, in shooting sports, a little alcohol might actually help. It slows down your heartbeat, which helps you stay calm and steady. So, in this one weird sport, the thing your parents say to avoid might just win you a medal. The most valuable baseball card in history isn't made of gold, but it's worth more than a mansion. Why? Because it's super rare and fans treat it like treasure. One tiny piece of cardboard became the crown jewel of sports history. Most of the universe is invisible. What we see, stars, planets, galaxies, is just a tiny bit. The rest is made of dark energy and dark matter. We can't touch it, but we feel its pull. It's like the universe is holding secrets in invisible hands. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. In India, mango leaves aren't just decorations. They're used to celebrate when a baby boy is born. Families hang them like garlands of sweetness to bring good luck and smiles. It's nature's way of saying, congratulations, here's some sunshine on a string. When you flip a coin, you think it's a 50-50 chance. But science says it's more likely to land the same way it started. So if it began heads up on your thumb, it might land heads again. Coin tosses have a favorite side, they just hide it well. Professional cyclists don't just pedal fast, they create crazy power. During a sprint, they push enough energy to light up a house. Imagine your legs being strong enough to run your TV, fridge, and microwave, all while zooming past like a superhero. Mosquitoes are picky vampires. They prefer biting people with a certain blood type, especially the kind labeled as O. If you've got it, they think you're a 5-star buffet. So if they keep coming for you and not your friend, now you know why. In one baseball season, teams go through over 100,000 baseballs. That's a mountain of white leather orbs flying through the air. Every crack of the bat means another ball in the pile. Somewhere, a factory is working overtime just for home runs. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The Bible holds a world record for the weirdest reason. It's the most shoplifted book ever. People swipe it off shelves more than any other. Maybe they think forgiveness comes with the pages. Or maybe it's just hard to resist holy stories for free. The oldest currency still being used isn't a digital coin. It's the British pound. It's been around for over 1,000 years and still shows up in wallets and shops. That's like carrying a piece of ancient history in your pocket every time you buy snacks. The Great Lakes aren't just lakes, they're island collectors. They've got over 30,000 islands tucked inside them. That's like a mini nation hiding in water. If you ever want to play treasure hunter, skip the ocean and check the lakes. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Mountain lions can whistle. Yes, like a person calling their dog. They're giant, sneaky cats with a built-in referee whistle. So if you hear a strange whistling in the woods and no one's there, maybe it's just a cougar saying, hey. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Rabbits have superpower vision. They can see almost all the way around their head. But guess what? Their biggest blind spot is right in front of their nose. It's like having superhero eyes with one hilarious flaw. If carrots played hide and seek, they'd win every time. Koala babies are born smaller than jelly beans. Tiny, pink, and squishy, they crawl into mom's pouch like living gummy bears. No fur, no ears, just cuteness with ambition. From jelly bean to tree hugger, it's one of nature's tiniest miracles. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Toe wrestling is a real sport, like arm wrestling, but with feet. People lock toes, push hard, and try to pin the other person down. No shoes, just foot fury. Somewhere out there, someone is training their big toe for glory. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Once, a pitcher struck out 4 batters in 1 inning. Sounds impossible, right? But if the catcher drops the ball and the batter runs, the strikeout still counts. Baseball has loopholes like a video game glitch, and some pitchers know how to bend the rules. At baseball games, fans devour peanuts like it's a mission. Every year, millions of bags vanish into happy mouths. The crunch, the salt, the shell-throwing fun, it's not just food, it's tradition. Ballparks run on cheers and peanut power. Everyday snacks have stories that travel across time, culture, and even biology. The name Jessica didn't exist until Shakespeare made it up. He invented it for a play called The Merchant of Venice. So every Jessica today is part of a literary invention. That's right. Shakespeare was out here creating names like a baby naming machine. Your tooth enamel is the toughest thing in your body, tougher than bone. It protects your teeth like a superhero shield made of rock candy. But once it's gone, it doesn't grow back. So maybe don't test it against jawbreakers. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Pharaoh Rameses II was so important. His mummy got a passport. Not a joke, a real passport with his name, title, and photo. He didn't need it to fly, but officials made it anyway. Even the dead need paperwork sometimes, apparently. There are more stars in space than grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Think about that. Every handful of sand you've ever seen doesn't even scratch the surface. Space is overflowing with sparkle. It's a cosmic glitter party we barely understand. A caterpillar is basically a tiny muscle machine. It's got more muscles than you do, and that's before it turns into a butterfly. So while you're lifting weights, just know that somewhere a caterpillar is flexing harder, without even trying. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. A shrimp has its heart in its head. That's right, in its skull space. So if it ever says, "I'm thinking with my heart," it's telling the truth. It's like nature said, why not mix brain and love in one place? The universe never runs out of ways to make us feel tiny, curious, and amazed. A human could swim through the arteries of a blue whale. That's how huge those sea giants are. Their blood vessels are like underwater tunnels. If they had street signs inside them, you could probably get lost in their circulatory system. Light is so fast, it could whip around the planet over 7 times in just 1 second. Imagine racing it with a jet. You wouldn't even finish your blink before it lapped the globe. Light is basically the universe's lightning speed ninja. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. One lightning bolt carries enough energy to toast 100,000 slices of bread. That's breakfast for a whole city. If lightning had a kitchen, it could feed an army with just one zap. Don't mess with sky electricity. It's cooking level, powerful. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Sometimes babies are born with teeth already poking out. Yep, fresh out the womb and already ready to bite cookies. It's rare, but when it happens, even doctors get surprised. Imagine your first selfie with a newborn who's already smiling with teeth. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Some people only need 4 hours of sleep and still feel amazing. Less than 5% of the world is like this. They're the real-life night owls who recharge fast. While most of us need blankets, they run on turbo nap mode. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. You can turn peanut butter into diamonds. For real. Under crazy pressure, all that nutty goo transforms into sparkly stone. So if your sandwich ever starts to glitter, you might be sitting on a snack worth a fortune. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Earth is the only planet that didn't get named after a Roman or Greek god. All the others have fancy myth names: Mars, Venus, Jupiter. But Earth? It's just called the ground. We're the humble planet in a family of show-offs. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. In the 1960s, the US government actually tried to turn a cat into a spy. They put a microphone in its ear and sent it to eavesdrop. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. The cat wandered off like, well, a cat. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Movie trailers used to play after the movie ended, but no one stayed to watch. So theaters moved them to the beginning, and now we call them trailers even though they don't trail anymore. Movie magic is just full of time travel words. There isn't just one way to reach first base in baseball. Nope, there are 9. Walks, hits, errors, dropped strikes, you name it. It's like a board game where every roll of the dice sends you down a different path. Baseball's rulebook is basically a magician's manual. Back in wartime, the US military made grenades the same size and weight as a baseball. Why? Because they believed every young soldier knew how to throw one. That's how much America trusted its love for the game. Baseball, the unofficial training ground for throwing stuff. In 1883, a zookeeper named Jim used pigeons to send baseball scores to news stations. Every half inning, he'd strap notes to tiny bird legs and send them flying. Forget Wi-Fi, this was feather-powered sports broadcasting, and those birds were the real MVPs. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Long ago, baseball's home base was a white iron circle, not a flat pentagon. Imagine stepping on something hard and round every time you scored. That base looked more like a dinner plate than a diamond. The pass played weird, but it played proud. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Sharks get all the horror movie attention, but cows are actually deadlier. Yep, those slow, grass-chomping farm animals kill more people than sharks every year. Whether it's a stomp or a headbutt, cows are not to be messed with. Moo means business. When you hear thunder, you're actually hearing lightning. It's the sound of the sky tearing open from that electric zap. The lightning flashes and thunder roars after. It's like a drum solo following a blinding flash of magic. Nature's soundtrack is pure drama. Believe it or not, Australia is wider than the moon. If you could lay the moon flat and stretch the country out, Australia would win by a few hundred kilometers. That makes Down Under not just wild, it's wide enough to high-five the cosmos. In Senegal, some taxi drivers believe tying a goat's tail to their car brings good luck. Forget air fresheners. These drivers ride with ancient animal blessings. Every honk could be powered by belief, superstition, and a little bit of goat mojo. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. The albatross is a flying champion. This bird can sleep mid-air while gliding across oceans. While you're rolling in bed, it's catching Z's over waves. Imagine dreaming without landing. Clouds as blankets, wind as a lullaby. The sky is its bedroom. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. If 23 people are in a room, there's a good chance 2 of them share a birthday. Sounds wild, but math backs it up. It's called the birthday paradox, and it means you might have a surprise twin every time you're in a classroom. Bubble wrap wasn't born for popping. It was meant to be wallpaper. Some inventors thought bumpy plastic on walls looked futuristic. Thankfully, the world said, no thanks, and we turned it into the ultimate stress relief toy instead. Wallpaper fail, fidget win. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. There's a jellyfish that doesn't die, ever. It can reverse its aging and start over again, like pushing a reset button. It's the Benjamin Button of the ocean. Forever young, forever floating. If jellyfish ran the world, we'd never need birthday candles again. Britain's been busy in history. It's invaded over 170 countries. Out of almost 200 nations on Earth, only a few haven't had tea with British boots on their soil. That's not diplomacy. That's real-world hide-and-seek, but with ships. The computer that helped Apollo 11 land on the moon wasn't even as powerful as the calculator in your pocket today. Still, it guided astronauts through space. Proof that you don't need a super machine, just super brains behind the buttons. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Ever get brain freeze from ice cream? The scientific name is sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Sounds like a spell from a wizard school. Basically, when cold hits your mouth too fast, your brain freaks out. So next time, eat slower or cast the anti-freeze charm. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Earth isn't just floating in space, it's actually sitting inside the sun's outer atmosphere. The sun's giant reach goes far beyond what we see. So technically, we're always sunbathing, whether it's day or night. We live in a flame's shadow without even knowing it. Istanbul's so big, it stretches across 2 continents, Europe and Asia. 1 foot here, 1 foot there. A bridge in the middle links the 2 worlds. It's not just a city, it's a living passport. Travel without leaving town. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. If you drilled a hole straight through Earth and jumped in, it would take about 40 minutes to fall to the other side. That's one long scream. And a ride without stops. You'd pass the center, slow down, and pop out feet first in another country. Somewhere in space, there's a planet made almost entirely of diamonds. Scientists call it 55 Cancri E. If you could bring it home, it would be worth more than all the money ever printed. But hey, good luck fitting it in your backpack. France used the guillotine for executions as recently as the late 1970s. That's not medieval times, that's disco era. While the world was grooving to funky music, France was still chopping heads. History sometimes keeps its shadows close. It's a wild reminder of how far we've come, and how weird the past really was. Sloths move so slowly that green algae grows on their fur. Nature basically turns them into mossy tree statues. It's like wearing camouflage that grows by itself. If plants gave awards, sloths would win Best Disguise every year. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Roman numerals can do a lot, but they can't handle 0. There's no symbol for it. Back then, 0 wasn't even considered a number. No wonder their math homework looked harder. Try dividing by nothing when nothing doesn't exist. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Michelangelo, the dude who sculpted greatness, actually hated painting. He painted the Sistine Chapel while lying on his back for years, and he hated every second. He even wrote poems about how much it sucked. Behind every masterpiece might be a frustrated artist grumbling in rhymes. The dwarf lantern shark is so tiny it can fit in your hand. It's like a baby monster with glowing parts. Don't let the word shark scare you. This one looks like a sea nightlight, floating through the deep ocean shadows like a sleepy flashlight. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Shuffle a deck of cards and boom, you've probably created a combo that has never existed before. There are more possible shuffles than there are atoms on Earth. That means your messy deck might be one of a kind in the universe. Every shuffle is a tiny miracle of randomness. Pablo Escobar's cartel made so much money they spent thousands every month just on rubber bands to bundle the cash. Imagine needing shopping carts just for stacks of paper bills. That's not a wallet problem. It's a money mountain needing jungle vines to hold it together. Elephants are powerful, wise, and gigantic, but they can't jump. Not even a little hop. Their legs are built for strength, not spring. While kangaroos leap for joy, elephants stick to the ground like ancient statues made of thunder. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. In Japan, a pizza place once trained reindeer to deliver hot, cheesy slices. With antlers, snow, and pizza boxes, it looked like Santa had gone into fast food. Imagine opening your door to Rudolph bringing you pepperoni. That's the holiday spirit with extra toppings. Lebanon is the only country in its entire region that doesn't have a desert. No endless sand dunes here, just green hills, snowy mountains, and beaches. It's like nature skipped the desert level and went straight to beauty mode. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. A quarter of your bones live in your feet. That's right. Those two things below your legs are packed with tiny bones. They hold you up, balance you, and take all the stomping. Respect the foot skeletons, they're working overtime. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Martin Van Buren was the first U.S. president born as a citizen, not a colonist. Plus, he grew up speaking Dutch, not English. He basically became president while being bilingual before it was cool. Language goals, political addition. Words carry layers of meaning and origin, twisting through centuries of culture and change. Strawberries pack more vitamin C than oranges. Don't let their size fool you. These red heroes are fruit ninjas in disguise. Sweet, strong, and ready to fight off sniffles. A single berry is like a tiny bodyguard with flavor. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. To predict tomorrow's weather, scientists crunch billions of math problems, all for one day of sky guessing. That's why even a sunny forecast might still get rained on. Weather math is like a magic trick that sometimes forgets the last step. The longest one-syllable word in the English language is screeched. Say it out loud. It feels like your mouth is stretching just to squeeze it out. One syllable, but it sounds like a tire screaming, a banshee howling, or a cat singing karaoke with no training. Nothing rhymes with month. Go ahead, try. You can find a rhyme for orange if you stretch your brain, but month is stubborn. It's the poetry boss that refuses to play nice. Even the best rappers and poets just avoid it like a vocabulary trap. There's a real town in West Virginia called Big Ugly. Yes, people actually live there, send mail, and proudly say it's home. It's one of those names that's so bold it becomes awesome. Big Ugly. Where the name's bad, but the vibes are probably great. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The average person spends 2 whole weeks of their life waiting at red lights. That's 14 days of staring at glowing circles, tapping the steering wheel, and wondering if time has paused. Traffic lights. The world's most polite robbers of your minutes. You share your birthday with millions of people around the world. That means somewhere out there, someone's blowing out candles, eating cake, and wishing the same day you are. It's like a massive party where you don't know the guests, but you're all celebrating together. Try folding any piece of paper more than 7 times. You can't. No matter how strong you are or how big the paper is, it'll fight you. After 7 folds, it's like the paper says, "That's enough, human. I'm officially done." Look closely at a quarter, and you'll find over 100 little grooves on the edge. Those tiny lines aren't just for looks. They were made to prevent cheating back in the day. Even coins had to defend themselves against crooks. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. A bunch of pet owners love their animals so much they share their bed. That's not just cute. That's nearly 1 out of 5 people cuddling with fur balls, feathers, or even scales. Sleep tight, but don't steal the blanket from your dog. In Alaska, caribou outnumber people. That means if all the humans had to vote on pizza toppings, the caribou would win. The wild owns the place, and humans are just guests in the land of antlers and snow. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Fish don't grow like trees with 1 ring per year. They grow multiple rings all over their bones and scales. Scientists read these lines to know a fish's age, just like reading a tree's life story. Nature leaves clues in the weirdest places. Oysters can switch from boy to girl and back again. Gender is no big deal to them. One day they're flexing as male, next day they're chilling as female. It's like nature gave them a free pass to explore both closets. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. At medieval times dinner shows, you eat with your hands. Why? Because that's how people did it in the Middle Ages. Forks weren't a thing. No utensils, no napkins. Just you, a turkey leg, and the raw power of ancient dining. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Before wallets and coins ruled the world, some people in Siberia used blocks of tea as money. Yep, tea you could drink or trade. Imagine buying snacks with your favorite beverage, then sipping your change at the end of the day. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. A 10-gallon hat doesn't hold 10 gallons of anything. It's a name trick. In real life, that cowboy hat holds less than a jug of milk. The name's all about style, not size. Just like calling your tiny dog Thunder. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Back during World War I, people in England started wearing pajamas instead of nightgowns just in case they had to run outside during air raids. Safety met fashion, and pajamas won. Today's comfy sleepwear started with people dodging danger in matching pants and shirts. Fish can drown. Yep, even in water. If there's not enough oxygen, their gills stop working. It's like having air but not being able to breathe it. So yeah, fish and humans both need good air, just in different styles. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Every person alive today could technically fit inside Texas. That's how much land the state has. It'd be tight, sure, but possible. The whole world in one place. Kind of like a giant sleepover minus the pizza and with way more languages. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Lizards don't just sit around. They do push-ups to talk. Seriously. Those up and down moves are like flashing neon signs in lizard language. It's how they show off, warn rivals, or flirt. So next time you see a lizard pumping reps, just know it's chatting. Squids have eyes as big as volleyballs. That means when they stare at you, it's like being watched by a floating monster truck. Their peepers are built to see in the deep dark ocean like underwater flashlights on beast mode. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Sweden is the island champion of the world. With over 200,000 islands, it's like the country is made of puzzle pieces floating in the sea. It's the ultimate hide-and-seek spot. If you get lost, you might just find an island of your own. When the moon is right above you, you weigh a little less. Not enough to fly, but just enough for your body to say, "Hey, thanks, moon." It's like the universe giving you a tiny, invisible high five. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. You burn about 20 calories every hour just by chewing gum. That's like exercising your jaw without realizing it. Want to keep busy and burn a snack's worth? Start chewing. Gum is basically a mini treadmill for your face. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. A single minute of kissing burns around 25 calories, so yeah, locking lips is technically a workout. It's like cardio with emotion, romance with resistance training. Just don't try logging it on your fitness tracker, unless your watch is very nosy. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Astronaut Eugene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon, wrote his daughter's initials in the lunar dust. Those letters are still up there, untouched by wind or rain. It's like space got a love letter that'll stay safe for thousands of years. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Only male turkeys gobble. The females keep it classy with clicks and chirps, but the boys, they gobble like they're shouting their names. So next time you hear that gobble gobble, know a turkey dude is making some noise. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Dalmatian puppies are born completely white. No spots, no dots, just blank little marshmallows. Their famous black spots start appearing later like freckles after a sun-filled day. Every Dalmatian starts as a canvas and paints itself into its final look. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. The whale shark is the largest fish in the ocean, stretching longer than 5 cars and weighing as much as a couple of elephants. Despite being a giant, it eats tiny plankton. Imagine the Hulk living on sprinkles. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. A pigeon's feathers weigh more than its bones. That's right. Those little fluttery wings are heavier than the skeleton inside. Birds have hollow bones to keep them light, but feathers, they don't hold back. Stylish and strong, feathery armor in flight. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Only humans and koalas have unique fingerprints. That means if you framed a koala for cookie theft, you could actually prove it. Their tiny prints are nature's furry ID cards. Don't let those sleepy eyes fool you. They're traceable. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. And believe it or not, cows might have accents. Farmers notice their moos change based on where they live, kind of like a southern drawl or a British lilt. Your milk might have come from a cow that speaks a different moo dialect than your neighbor's. Back in the late 1800s, the speed limit in New York City was slower than a jog, only about 8 miles an hour. Horses, not hot rods, ruled the streets. If you wanted to race someone, you'd better have strong legs or a fast carriage. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. In the roaring 1920s, mini-golf first teed off high above the city, on rooftops in New York. People played putt-putt under the stars with skyscrapers for scenery. It wasn't just golf. It was urban jungle sports with a side of the skyline. There is a theme park in Lithuania which recreates life as a USSR citizen. Visitors have their belongings confiscated, have to wear gas masks, experience interrogation, and must learn the Soviet anthem. At the end of the 3-hour experience, their reward is a shot of vodka. The first ever music video played on MTV wasn't from a pop legend. It was a quirky tune called "Video Killed the Radio Star." Kind of ironic, right? The moment video music was born, it announced the death of its audio-only cousin. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. Before binge watching was a thing, the first show ever put into reruns was The Lone Ranger. People loved it so much they said, "Play it again." And just like that, reruns were born. So thank that masked cowboy for your late-night TV marathons. The sun isn't just hot, it's melt-your-mind hot. It can reach a whopping 15 million degrees Fahrenheit. That's not don't touch the stove heat. That's vaporize everything nearby energy. The sun is basically a giant space furnace with no off switch. The universe never runs out of ways to make us feel tiny, curious, and amazed. The first American penny had the motto, "Mind your own business" on it. Not "In God we trust," but a sassy little warning. That coin didn't just pay for things, it told you to back off while doing it. Coins had an attitude back then. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The first vacuum cleaner was so massive it had to be pulled to houses by horses. It didn't fit in closets, it barely fit on the street. Picture a machine the size of a sofa just to clean your rug. Your robot vacuum owes it everything. When you look at something beautiful, like your crush or pizza, your eye can expand almost halfway bigger than its normal size. It's like your eyeball is shouting, "Yes, I like this." Eyes don't lie, they react with a zoom lens of love. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. In Sweden, one couple tried to name their child something that looked like someone smashed a keyboard. BRF B. They claimed it was pronounced Albin. They weren't trying to be weird. They were fighting naming laws. Sweden said, "Nope." Kid probably said thanks. Back in the day, King Henry VIII had a royal assistant called the Groom of the Stool. That guy's full-time job? Helping the king with his poop? Yep, he had a helper for the throne on the throne. Royal dignity has never been so personal. Judge Judy doesn't just slam gavels, she cashes big checks. She makes over $40 million a year for sorting out squabbles on TV. That's not just courtroom drama, that's luxury-level drama. All rise for the queen of courtroom cash. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. The Andes Mountains stretch longer than the distance from one side of America to the other. Towering over the land at jaw-dropping heights, they are Earth's longest mountain chain above sea level. Nature built a giant stone backbone right through South America. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. High heels were originally made for men. Yep, knights and noble dudes used them to keep their feet in stirrups while riding horses. Over time, fashion flipped the script. So the next time you see high heels, remember, they started on swaggering warriors, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The word orange started with the fruit. The color got its name later. Before that, people called the shade things like red-yellow. So the fruit didn't get its name from the color got named after the juicy little round boss. Dum-dums, those tiny lollipops that disappear too fast, are made by the millions every single day. A candy army rolls out of factories, ready to stick to tongues and dentist warnings. If you've ever gotten one at a bank, it came from the Great Dum-Dum Flood. Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. It's smaller than a mall and has fewer people than your neighborhood. But don't let size fool you. It's got its own laws, guards, and power. Tiny country, mega history, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. In 1916, before American women were even allowed to vote, a bold lady named Jeanette Rankin walked right into Congress as the first female member. She didn't wait for permission. She made history while the rest of the country was still debating it. Mount Rushmore was almost a Wild West party. Originally, they considered carving faces like Buffalo Bill onto the mountain, but the main sculptor said, "Let's go with presidents everyone knows." Boom! Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Jefferson made the cut. The Wild West stayed wild elsewhere. At the Olympic Games in 1908, Russia arrived almost 2 weeks late. Why? They were still using an old calendar. While the rest of the world had moved on, Russia was literally in the wrong week. Better late than never, and just when you think that's all, it gets even better. The Amazon rainforest is Earth's biggest natural jungle. It's so massive it covers nearly half of South America and makes its own weather. Walk inside and you're entering nature's lungs. So big, so green, it practically breathes life into the planet. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Every panda you've ever seen at a zoo, it's on loan from China. Yep, they rent them out for a fee so huge it makes the bamboo look cheap. Even pandas have passport stamps. China, global panda parent since forever. And just when you think that's all, it gets even better. Beer isn't just for barbecues. It's ancient. The first known beer recipe goes back to 5,000 years ago. People in Egypt were writing about it before paper was even popular. Bread and beer. The prehistoric breakfast of champions. It's one of those facts that makes you stop and think for a moment longer. The shortest war in history lasted only about half an hour. The Anglo-Zanzibar War exploded and ended all in 38 minutes. That's less time than a cartoon episode. By the time you'd pop popcorn, it was already over. It's a wild reminder of how far we've come, and how weird the past really was. During World War II, Queen Elizabeth II, then an 18-year-old princess, trained in London as a mechanic and military truck driver. There's a chunk of land in Africa called Bir Tawil, and no country claims it. Egypt says it belongs to Sudan, Sudan says it's Egypt's. Both stepped back and said, nope. So the land just sits there, unwanted but totally real. Eddie Gaedel was a Major League Baseball player who stood under 4 feet tall. He appeared once, got walked, and made sports history. One swing? Nope, just one step to first base, and one giant leap for underdogs everywhere. Mars has a canyon so massive it would stretch from Los Angeles all the way to the Atlantic coast if it were on Earth. It's called Valles Marineris, and it's like someone carved a crack into the red planet with a space sword. Before he became a notorious criminal, Ted Bundy once chased down a thief and got praised by the police. They gave him an award. Sometimes life writes the weirdest, most ironic twists, and this one's as dark as it gets. So that's the end of this video, but don't worry, the journey's far from over. The next one might just hit you harder with facts that'll shake your brain. Click it now and I'll see you there.